Hey, good morning or afternoon or evening or whenever you guys are watching this. Today I wanted to review everything there is to know about tulips, at least just about everything I can think of that you need to know about tulips. I have a really pretty bunch or two here. I have two bunches actually, of yellow and white today. And the first thing you need to know about tulips is how to process them properly. What most people will do, well, flower shops, you usually get these bunched, right? They're usually 10 stem bunches that you're working with. So let's grab 10 of these guys, like so. Just grab all, oops. I'm not gonna count all these out right now. Let's say you have a bunch like this and they're always bundled in rubber band. And you have all of the pieces up here. So what I usually do is just leave the sleeves still on them with the rubber band, and then I just give each one a little cut on an angle like this. It doesn't have to be a crazy amount that you're taking off of the stems. You want to just kind of give them a little trim so that you can leave them bunched for your designers to work with nice and easily, or your customers to just grab them and go like that. Then when you submerge them in your buckets in your shop, you really don't need a lot of water. I think we tend to want to give flowers tons and tons of bucket water and fill them like almost to the top sometimes. Tulips are not one of those flowers that really needs a lot of water to stay fresh. Usually I just make sure the stems are submerged to about there, which is maybe like, I don't know, 2.5, 3 inches or so. And then I've worked for some flower shops that insist on putting pennies in the water for the copper. The belief is that the copper is going to make your stems stand up much straighter and hopefully will prevent the tulips from continuing to grow really fast like they do. Tulips are also a really tricky flower in that when they're put in designs with other flowers, they continue to grow and get longer and longer. So you might have a nice neat little arrangement like this, and you have your roses in there and some, I don't know, iris, a bunch of other spring flowers, and then suddenly you send it out, everything's perfect, and then the very next day you realize the tulips are much taller and just making the design look kind of wacky. So usually when I'm working with them, I cut them shorter than I need them to be because I know that in a few days they're going to be just the right height. So yeah, that's how you want to process them, and of course you want to keep them really cool in your cooler whenever possible. If you're taking these home, I would suggest basically the same thing. If you have a vase of water, you want to just give them a fresh cut and just kind of pop them in just like that. They don't really ask for too much. They're really lovely just like that. You want to try not to have too much of their leaves in the water because over time that can cause the tulip to kind of rot out the stem around here, which you don't really want. So I'll usually peel back some stems like this if I'm going to be working with them and putting them in a vase. And of course, fresh cut every single stem that's going into the vase. Let's do that again. Just like so. So this is just your simple cylinder vase. You can get these at the dollar store, you can get these at thrift stores, you can get them wherever. They're not very expensive and they're readily available. And it's much easier to design tulips in a vase like this than the larger flared out ones, just to give them a nice even look. And you just keep trimming them like that. Okay, so you have one lovely little vase for your home, or your desk, or your office, or wherever you like to have them. And then the other thing I wanted to go over in this kind of overview video that we're making is to kind of show you guys a really budget-friendly centerpiece style design that you could do using tulips. So many couples struggle when they're planning their wedding floral designs. Of course, you want something like lush and elaborate for your main centerpieces for the reception area, but many times there's other areas that need to be styled, whether it's the cocktail hour, the bar, restroom areas, sign-in tables, things like that. So this is a really cost-effective way to do that. All I'm doing here is pulling apart these leaves on my tulip. So I have a nice clean stem, and I'm just using a very simple inexpensive little bubble vase that, again, like the cylinder ones, you can get these at dollar stores, you can get them at thrift stores, you can get them wherever you like. So what I'm gonna do is give this tulip, actually it's got a lot of bend to it already, so I'm just gonna trim it down to size, and I'm just gonna pop it right in this vase like that. And I like working in odd numbers, so you could just do 1 per vase, you could do 3 per vase. I wouldn't do more than 3 in a vase this size. You're kind of just looking for trouble if you're doing that. Now this one could use a teensy bit more bend to it. So I'm actually gonna, if you can zoom in, Maddie, if you can just see what I'm doing here, I'm just sort of taking this little slice off of the tulip. This is gonna allow us to have a lot more bend in the flower. See how I did that? Now this works with calla lilies as well as tulips. So it's a nice little trick. A lot of people don't always know that you can do that with tulips, but you certainly can. So maybe I'll do 1 more tulip in here. These are so pretty. Or no, actually I'm not, because I'm gonna float a candle on top of this. Now the next thing I'm gonna add is what's called lily grass. You can also get bear grass, which is very similar to this, but the bear grass is actually much thinner. Lily grass is a bit thicker, so it has a little bit more impact in these vases. All right, so let's see. I'm just gonna grab a few pieces of this. Let's see how it looks with 3. I'm gonna make sure I get them all together. And give it a little slice like that. And then I'm just gonna kind of wind this around any which way it wants to go. There's really not a set way that you're gonna want these to space out. You just want them sort of haphazard. See that like that? And I think actually I can fit 1 more tulip in there, so let's do that. Again, I'm just stripping off these stems, cutting it down, doing a little slice here just to give us a teensy bit more wiggle and bend more easily. Okay, so now everyone at the table, if it's a cocktail table, everybody can see it from all around. Then for the final touch for this, we're just gonna add a little floating candle to it. Pop. Whoops, threw that in too fast. Oh my goodness, you're gonna just gently place it in there. There we go. Ooh, thanks, Matt. All right, and then you just light this candle. Whoops, here we go. Perfect. This is last season's candle. It's kind of got some, I think it's got some potting soil on it. So there you go. Then you have this darling little cocktail table arrangement, and it's beautiful. If you do many groups of these, it's really, really a lovely effect. In fact, you know, I might be able to show you, you know what? I'm gonna show you like a how-to, but it's gonna be a 50% of the way there how-to kind of arrangement. I'm gonna take these other ones here out of this vase and I'm gonna peel them down. Now, if this were gonna be done 100% the way it needs to be, I would be cutting these down like this to about that height, maybe a little shorter. What I'm doing is creating a submerged arrangement. Now, what you're going to have to find if you're gonna make these style arrangements, it's called a flower frog. And a flower frog is actually, it looks like a little torture device. It's a metal plate, a little circular metal plate in most cases, and it's got tons of pins sticking up on it. And what you would do with that is just sort of jam the stem of the tulip or your calla lilies or whatever flowers you're using for this design onto the pin, onto the frog, and you would have them, I'm just gonna kind of show you. You have to just kind of use your imagination with this a bit and picture how this would look submerged. You kind of want like 3 different height tulips. And then this guy. actually not. Too perfect. Here we go. Like that and that. And maybe one's even shorter. This would be like a little baby guy. There you go. All right. So they would all be on a flower pin or a flower frog. What am I saying? It's so nerve-wracking filming these because I'm trying to think of how I'm designing it, number one. Number two, am I explaining this in a way that makes sense to you guys at home or not home? You might be at Starbucks watching this while you're waiting for your order. Who else is guilty of that? I know I'm always goofing off. I'm waiting for takeout food. All right, so I'm just trimming these down. So you would just have a little bundle like this, and you'd put it right on your flower frog. I really have to find where my flower frogs are. We're shooting from the studio starting next week, so I'm really, really excited for that. So yeah, you would pop them in like this, pretend there's a flower frog in the bottom, and they would all sit neatly in the vase, like so. And then you could either leave them like that, or you could float another candle on top of it. And you could do entire groupings of this. I mean, years ago, I remember we did a wedding where that was what we put on all of the tables. All of them just had very simple tulips, but it was elegant and it was beautiful and it was just lovely. It was so pretty. But if you do not use a flower frog, you can see these little guys are gonna pop up on you and drive you crazy. Now there's other techniques you can use. Through the years we've used, I know like the common name is Orbeez, but they're the water balls that kind of expand and they turn clear in water and stuff. You can play around with that too, but in the interest of just saving time and getting this done as quickly as possible, especially if you're a busy flower shop owner, I would definitely go with the flower frogs. They might cost a teeny bit more money, but they're going to save you a lot of time and sanity to work with those. And another thing you could do to cover the flower pin at the bottom when you have that with the flower frog, you can add river rocks, or you could add seashells, or you could add even like colorful gems and things like that. We've done that for a lot of bat mitzvahs and sweet 16s and even proms. You see that sometimes. So hopefully this has been helpful to you guys. If I think of anything else tulip related, I'll make another video, but for now that's kind of the basics. That's about all I can really explain to you about tulips. But try that trick where you just kind of do the little shave on it and play around with them. There's so many different options. You could fill giant vases with all tulips, all submerged, and you could do just hundreds of groupings of the little ones like this if you wanted a really, really dramatic table. That would look gorgeous on a farm table, actually. So, yeah, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. And if not, until next time, have a great day, everyone.